Occupy trio to give themselves in to police tomorrow. The chief executive describes the call for Mongkok occupiers to move to Admiralty as worrisome. And Canada to launch a new scheme for investors who want to immigrate to the country.
Good evening. The three Occupy Central organisers have announced that they will surrender themselves to the police tomorrow for taking part in unauthorised assemblies. They also urged all occupiers to retreat from the streets, a call made on day 66 of the Occupy protests. The three who came up with Occupy Central with Love and Peace explained their decision today.
We are not abandoning the occupiers. And we just urge the occupiers to consider the importance to or the understanding that the fight for democracy is a long battle. We should reserve all our energy in order to have a better chance that we could get democracy for Hong Kong in the long run.
The Occupy trio, Professors Benny Tai, Chan Kim-man and Reverend Chu Yu-ming, will be turning themselves in at the Central Police Station at 3 p.m. tomorrow, under the possibility that they've contravened Section 17A of the Public Order Ordinance, which covers unauthorised public assemblies. They called supporters to join them in surrendering, saying it's a demonstration of commitment and responsibility to their use of civil disobedience to fight for justice. The organisers said they could potentially admit to other offences, such as inciting others to join such assemblies, depending on how the prosecution would go ahead with it. Chu Yu-ming was emotional in expressing his concern for the safety of the demonstrators. Condemning the government for doing nothing to solve the problem but sending the police to tackle the protesters, the trio urged the occupiers to retreat from the streets. They added that the Occupy marshals, medical and legal teams will decide on their own whether or not to continue their volunteer work. But they stress this is not the end of the fight.
To surrender is not to fail. It's a silent denunciation of a heartless government.
Benny Tai and Chan Kim-man are moving the action into other directions, which includes engaging the community to further promote education on democracy and human rights. They also hope to draft a social charter to protect civil society's core values.
Well, there's been a range of reactions to the Occupy trio's decision to give themselves in to the police and call on occupiers to retreat. Rani Samtani with that story.
Secretary for Security Lai Tung-kwok said this afternoon that police will handle those who turn themselves in accordance with the procedure. He also welcomed the Occupy organizers' call for protesters to retreat from the streets, a view echoed by pro-establishment lawmakers.
It really caused a lot of people inconvenience. Yeah, I think it's about time to stop doing it. Okay, and this is a wise thing to do.
The Labour Party said it respects the trio's decision to turn themselves in.
But for the Labour Party, we would still stay on in this umbrella movement. And I think because we believe that now it's time to discuss about the direction of the movement and not really handing in ourselves. But if one day, the movement is over and we are still not arrested, I have already promised that I will hand in myself.
The Civic Party and the Democratic Party agree. Democratic Party legislator Emily Lau said it is important, however, to consider how the movement can further engage the community.
And I'm sure they will continue to be part of the movement, and my party will be very, very happy to continue to cooperate with them, and I wish them all the best. And some of my colleagues will accompany them to go to the police station tomorrow.
But People Power is against the call on occupiers to retreat.
This decision to urge the student to withdraw is totally unwarranted, and also it's not a proper one. Mainly this is a students-led political movement, and you should be continue to be led by the students. I do believe we should provide all kinds of support, including moral, physical, and also direct support, to the student in the coming days, because it is at the, it is at the worst time since the start of the movement.
Earlier this morning, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying said the call for Mong Kok occupiers to move to Admiralty is a worrying situation. He said that many have noted the complicated backgrounds of the Mong Kok occupiers. Speaking before the weekly Executive Council meeting, the CE called the protesters' fight futile because genuine universal suffrage can only be implemented in accordance with the Basic Law and the National People's Congress Standing Committee's decisions. But Joshua Wong of the student group Scholarism, who is now on an indefinite hunger strike, refuted Leung's dismissal of their protest efforts and reminded people that it's the government's responsibility to resolve the political impasse.
We hope the general public focus more on the reason for why CY Leung did not respond to our request, rather than just focus on whether the Occupy action will continue.
Ronnie Samtani, TVB News.
Meanwhile, the Legislative Council will enforce new rules to restrict the use of facilities by lawmakers' guests. LegCo President Jung Yok-sing explained that clear guidelines would be set out for using the LegCo complex properly.
For example, we should not allow an individual member to use the same meeting room for a long period of time for purposes other than business connected with business of the LegCo. We also, the Commission also decided that after midnight and before 6 a.m. on the next morning, visitors should not stay in the complex without being accompanied by a member, at least a member. These measures are to make sure that the facilities will not be abused.
The LegCo Commission will also issue warning letters to 3 lawmakers, including Labour Party Lee Chuk-yang, Democratic Party's Wu Chi-wai and the League of Social Democrats Leung Kwok-hong for breaching the terms of use of LegCo facilities. This comes after complaints from pro-establishment lawmakers that some legislators were allowing student leaders to use offices and conference rooms at LegCo to discuss their protest actions.
Yesterday, 4 people accused of obstructing bailiffs during the clearance of obstacles set up by Occupy protesters in Mong Kok appealed against their bail conditions. Today, the High Court rejected their appeal, maintaining a ban on them from entering a designated area in Mong Kok. Owen Fong reports.
Among the 4 appellants are Deputy Secretary General of the Hong Kong Federation of Students, Lester Shum, and People Power member Tam Tak Chi. They were arrested in Mong Kok last week during the execution of injunction orders and then brought before the court. A magistrate banned them from entering a designated area in Mong Kok, except in transport or in transit, as one of their bail conditions. Today, High Court Judge Derek Pang upheld the magistrate's decision and rejected their appeal. In his judgment, Mr. Justice Pang stated that the occupation movement is ongoing. And since the execution of the injunctions, the judge continued, sporadic protests have spread to an area much larger than that of the original blockades in Mong Kok. And he believes there is a risk that the defendants will commit a fresh offence, necessitating the bail condition. The judge is also satisfied with the banned area being larger than the areas covered by the injunctions, stating that most of the arrests since the execution of the court orders were made within the banned area. The High Court judge further highlighted that there is no pressing need for the defendants to enter the banned area except for the purpose of travelling.
I'm really disappointed about the judgment.
Shum added that he'll abide by the bail condition and will be cautious when he's around Mong Kok. Meanwhile, another defendant, Tam Tak Chi, said he'll find other ways to protest.
I cannot go to the Mong Kok district, but I can go to Yau Ma Tei, Jordan and Tsim Sha Tsui. I will call for action.
The defendants will not be able to appeal against the High Court's judgment, and the only option left is judicial review, which they said they will not be pursuing. This means that there won't be any further legal proceedings until the hearings in January. Owen Fung, TVB News.
A member of the public has filed a claim for $314.60 in additional transportation cost against Occupy organizer Benny Tai through the Small Claims Tribunal. In his claim, Stephen Lau, who is pro-democracy lawmaker Emily Lau's elder brother, said he's seeking compensation for a taxi ride he had to take to Central after his usual bus route was disrupted by the Occupy protests. Benny Tai earlier applied to the tribunal to group together a number of similar claims filed against him to be handled on the same day at the High Court. Adjudicator Diane To today granted his application, taking into consideration the resources it would save the courts. The case has been adjourned until the 5th of January.
According to media reports, Canada will launch a new scheme that will allow foreigners hoping to invest at least 6.8 million Hong Kong dollars to get residency in the country. A local expert says it's unlikely this large sum will put off aspiring immigrants from Hong Kong and as well as mainland Chinese. Stephanie Cho reports.
Here's hope for those looking to move to Canada. The Immigration Investor Venture Capital Fund pilot project may allow qualified individuals with 1 to 2 million Canadian dollars to spare to immigrate to Canada. That's about 6.8 to 13.6 million Hong Kong dollars. Canada did away with this 20-year-old immigrant investor scheme earlier this year because it's been thought the 800,000 Canadian dollar investment sum undermined the value of permanent residency in Canada. According to the Wall Street Journal, the Canadian government hopes to raise 136 million Canadian dollars through this new scheme, but immigration authorities say they're still looking into details. The aim of this pilot project is to attract wealthy overseas individuals, particularly those from China, to immigrate to Canada. A local immigration consultant says although the minimum sum of 1 million Canadian dollars is much higher than the previous 800,000, he doesn't think it will put off people from Hong Kong and the Chinese mainland. 1 million Canadian dollars isn't a problem to many Hong Kong or mainland Chinese, he says. Compared with places such as the UK and Australia, which have large investment capital requirements, the increase in Canada's scheme won't make much of a difference, he adds. Canada will also be launching the Express Entry system next month that will process applicants based on their skills and experience to contribute to the country's economy and labour markets. The applications of chosen qualified foreign nationals will be processed within 6 months. Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
And still to come in our news tonight. Former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown to leave politics. Obama to set up a task force to reduce police friction with minorities. And Lufthansa pilots launch another strike.
Polar bears are designed to live on ice. But as the climate changes, the ice disappears sooner and returns later each year, which makes surviving through the summer harder and harder. Tonight, Ice Bear at 9:30 on Pearl Spectacular.
Introducing Turbo Down from Columbia Sportswear. With its Omni-Heat reflective lining, it's ultralight and super warm. Turbo Down, unleash the power of warmth. Colombia.
Direct Asia, best price guaranteed on car insurance. That's a wrap. DirectAsia.com, best price guaranteed on car insurance.
Easy.
The past can be beautiful. A memory, a dream, but it's no place to live. The only way out is up. And it's not heaven. It's a new world. The future is gold. J'adore. Dior.
Do you dream in chocolate? Taste the Lindor truffle, created with passion by Lindt's master chocolatiers. When Lindor's irresistible center starts to melt, so will you. Smooth, flowing, luscious chocolate like no other. The Lindor truffle from Lindt.
Tai Chi is a healthy exercise. Yet doing Tai Chi in public administration is not healthy at all. In local slang, it means shirking responsibility.